305 Fights, where champions rise.
Mr. Jaafari, welcome to the 305 Fights podcast. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I love to have you today. You are an excellent young man, great representative of the martial arts and the attitude. Tell us a little bit about you.
Not too much. Just basically, here from Miami, Coconut Grove. Born and raised here. 21 years old. Just trying to start my MMA career and get it up and rolling. Also trying to, just show off my community, help out my community where I can. Just coming from where I come from here in Coconut Grove, it's not something, people really know about unless you're like one of those like common tourists that come here every other day.
Yes, sir.
But it's pretty cool. It's not like Wynwood. It's a little bit better than Wynwood. It's a lot of stuff being built and being made right now, but it's a nice place to come and visit.
Awesome. Awesome place to rise.
Yep.
You're 6 foot.
6'3".
And how much do you weigh?
298, but if you ask me on the street, I'll probably lie.
Okay. I love to see your fights because you're the part of the big man. Everybody like to see a big man. But what I love that surprised me is that you're very fast for your size. And that, I guess, goes to your wrestling background. Talk to a little bit about your martial arts background.
Okay, well, my martial arts background, I've been training in martial arts and different styles of martial arts since I was 8 years old. I did wrestling, I did jiu-jitsu, I did judo, I've done capoeira for a little minute. I also did Kempo karate, stuff like that. I got into MMA after we did a couple kickboxing tournaments, and the guys were just like, "You're hitting a little bit too hard." I'm just like, "I don't know what else you want me to do." And then one of those guys came up, he's like, "He needs to be in the cage." I'm just like, I mean, we're trying. That's the plan, but nobody really wanted to fight me in that situation. Like, I tried to get kicked out of tournaments too. So.
Yeah, well, it's challenging to fight your size, and you're really good. In fact, let me take a time right now to make a shout out. If Jaafari's going for that title, if you want to go 305 Fights title and you're a super heavyweight, it's open. I also know that your Sensei Carl in your school has a background in Kempo. I have a background in Chinese Kempo also, in Chinese martial arts. That's why you see our bow. What are the teams that you represent?
I only represent Team Inferno and White Tiger and Dragon Martial Arts.
Excellent. And you talked to me. I saw that you do have a wrestling background because when I've seen you fight, like I said, you have control of your body and you move your body really good around. Let's talk about your fights in 305 Fights. You did a super grappling fight, which you won.
Yep.
Commentate on that fight. What do you think you did good? What would you want to do better?
I think just all around trying to more control the fight is what I did pretty well. I saw more mistakes that I made that I want to clean up on. But then again, I took that match as an opportunity just to see where I was at and make those little pinpoints to see where I need to improve. So mostly just more tempo of the fight, trying to be more controlling from the get. Also, my takedowns, improving on them. I should have gotten 3 or 4 takedowns in that fight, and I didn't get them. I don't know why I didn't get them. Probably because I was just waiting a little bit too long. Even the takedown that I did get, should have been a little bit neater, a little bit cleaner. I don't know why it came out so weird, but I got it. It's like, it needs to be a little bit better.
But you know what? One of the things that I did like, again, is you talked about the pressure. You did keep the pressure. You're always going for the takedown or the submission for the finish. You said something very important about the tempo and the rhythm, and you're controlling the tempo and the rhythm of the fight. Those are the things that I saw. And of course, this experience is going to make you better, and the more experience you get, the better you're gonna get. How was your training? And talk to people out there. How's the training to be a grappler, to be an MMA fighter? How's the training? Talk to me about your training.
It's very hard. It's very constant. It's a lot of pressure. It's not something for everybody. If you're not willing to sit down there and actually do the time and put the work in to do it, it's not for you. I train 2 and 3 times a day, every week. And it's hard sometimes, but you get up and you do it. It's just something you have to have in you.
Yeah, that's very important. That the people we're communicating, educating, and talking to it, they understand that there's the grind, as they call it, and there's the mental part, the cardio part, the technical part, and MMA is very dynamic. That's why it's the #1 sport in the world. But that's how dynamic the training is. What's your favorite part of training, and what's your not favorite part?
My favorite part of training, between weightlifting and sparring, most people say cardio. Cardio's not that bad. Just reviewing old techniques. I don't know why I hate doing the same old techniques, but Everything else is pretty good. Cardio is not as bad as everyone thinks it is. I promise. I'm a big dude. I don't like to run, but you get a lot of cardio through everything else. You can spar for 2 or 3 hours, and that's a whole lot of cardio. It's a lot more cardio than just running in place for 20 minutes. So at least that's for me. But just my pet peeve for anybody who's asking, I do not like to do the same moves and the same techniques every day. My brain cannot be idle. I need to do something new. I need to learn something new. If not, it's not working.
Yeah, even though I'm old school, I have attention deficit for that. So I kind of do camouflage repetition.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, those basics are the high percentage moves. Those are the ones you're gonna.
They work.
Yeah, but those are the ones you're gonna face. You're gonna keep them over and over. Let me ask you about your other fight. Was your MMA fight against a huge man? He was like at 350. That was in our 305 Fights number 8. I saw you got a good takedown on that. How did you feel in that fight?
To be honest, I liked it, but I wish it would have gone. I wish it would have gone a little bit longer. I was enjoying starting to play around with him. It was starting to get a little fun. It was a little bit difficult just because his body type and his body mass, but it's not something I'm not used to. Something I'm unable to handle. Is fairly easy. But I wish I would have been able to go, second, third round, play around a little bit more, and just play games with the person. It was very entertaining. The takedown was nice, but it could have been better. It should have been 2 or 3 more. I was really looking for the knockout. I did not get the knockout. I got a TKO, but still.
Yeah, I understand because I was seeing you and I did want to see more. You started, throwing your hands and you were trying to get the striking, but the distance got real short very quick.
Yeah, very quick.
So you didn't get to do the striking. When you got together, the close distance, you went for the takedown, and then from my understanding, I like what you did is you got on top and going for the ground and pound, and that's usually where people make mistakes, coming out of the ground and pound. Let me ask you a question: have you been training that? Coming out of being the bottom and coming out of that ground and pound.
I've never trained on being the bottom because my goal is to never be on the bottom. I always want to gain control and be on top. So, although it's something that we've worked on, it's not my favorite because I don't even want to put myself in the mindset that I'm the one being beat up.
That's excellent, and that's a great mindset because in MMA, if you're on top, you're winning.
Yeah.
And you don't, and that's in a hierarchy of positions. That's the worst position you want to be. Awesome. Let me take your take on. Let's recap the UFC 248 with Joel Romero and Adesanya. Tell me, what do you think about the fight?
I wish it would have got a little bit more action earlier on. I think that was a constant complaint from a lot of fans. But I see where also listening to the press conference after and then also understanding the mindset as a fighter. You don't really want to make that mistake. You don't want to rush in too early. But they could have got a little bit more action early on. The whole standing there and just like feeling each other out is cool, but you got to start fighting. Adesanya is a good fighter, but he has to take that championship role and say, I'm the man. I'm going to go out there and show people why I'm the champion. I can't just sit back and be like, oh, you need to come to me because I'm the winner. No, I'm going to come to you. I'm going to show you why I'm champion.
Correct. And if you want to be champion, you got to have that mind and the finishing. I agree with you. I think first of all, Adesanya gave too much respect to Joel Romero. I don't know if it's because when he got hit a couple of times with the punch or the kick, he could have set up traps or at least create things. Joel Romero also was too safe and waiting for him, so it was a waiting game. I think towards the end of the fight, let's say it's the 4th round, if you know you're losing, you're going to lose anyway.
You got to start trying to come after him.
Correct. Now, what do you think about the UFC Fight Night Brazil? It's coming up. They're going to have a lot of good Brazilian fighters. You have Kevin Lee. We have Kevin Lee against Oliveira. And who do you pick in that fight, and how do you see that fight?
I'm going with Kevin Lee just because I feel like he's going to have more of a skill set and be a little bit more prepared than Oliveira. I think Oliveira is probably just a little bit too up in his head right now, but I think Kevin Lee is probably going to come out on top in that one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great fight because they're both coming at full force and want to rank in the tops in the rankings of the UFC. I believe Kevin Lee also. I'm going to go with Kevin Lee. I believe that on the skill set you said. Now, again, who is strategy and tactical and makes them make mistakes, look for mistakes and create mistakes. I speak about this all the time. After the physical part, after the mental part, is the strategy. That, to me, is going to be my coach, the kickboxing coach, Scott Ashley, was a world champion. He says, 2 things you got to do. is be relaxed and fight your fight. If you fight your fight, nobody can beat you. The co-main event is going to be awesome. You have Damian Maia and Burns. Who do you pick in that fight? How do you think that fight's going to go?
I'm taking Burns with a knockout.
Ooh.
I think so.
Yeah, why is that?
I just feel like he's really, like I said with the last one, he's just mentally prepared. He's ready. A lot of these guys are working really hard. If you follow them on Instagram or any social media, you see how hard they're working. I think he's prepared to take him all the way.
And hard work pays off, correct?
Hard work always pays off.
Yeah, always pays off. You know, I think it's going to be actually the best. I think I picked Burns like you did also, but I think it's going to be a great fight for Damian Maia. I have a friend that has the Damian Maia school down here, and much respect to the Damian Maia school down here. I think he's probably one of the best grapplers, jiu-jitsu in the UFC, and he's adapted his grappling and jiu-jitsu to the UFC. So it's going to be interesting. His striking has developed. He's a little bit older. You know, he's 42 now. So if he shows up like a young man, it'll be better. If he shows up like an older man, it'll be better. But we'll see the fights, and it's going to be great. Before we end, is there anything else that you would like to share about the martial arts, and any tips for any young fighters that are getting out there and want to get into MMA?
Probably tips for young fighters. Trust me, I've been there where you're like in between, like, oh, you don't know if you want to do it, you want to try it out, this and that. Go for it. There's nothing wrong with going for it. Just make sure when you go for it, you're all in, you train hard. I'm not saying to give 3,000% of your life to it, because if you're not into it, but try it. Eventually, that's what happened to me, where I just started and I was like, oh, well, this is cool. This got interesting. Then you go from that, you go into something else, and it gets more interesting along the way. You find something, your little niche inside of martial arts that you like, and then you just go with it. So I think that's my advice for you guys, is find your niche and then see where it goes and see where it takes you and ride the wave.
Awesome, and that's why we say we're champions rise in 305. Are you ready for your title defense in 305?
Yeah, hopefully this time the ref doesn't stop it early and we get a knockout and we all go home happy.
Great. It's so great having you. Looking forward to having you. Respect to your school and all the martial arts in the 305. Life, health, success.